Hi guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Today we are going to do a quick overview of using Ancestry for beginners. This is intended for people who are interested in researching their family history for the first time and they may not be familiar with the Ancestry.com website. So I'm going to walk you through what it looks like to sign up and the options. So if you go to Ancestry.com, you will find this launch page where you're going to get all type of offers, encouraging you to do a lot of different things. What I'm going to focus on is if you are wanting to start a free trial, you can select the free trial button. And I also have it linked down below in the description. And it can be kind of confusing when you see this free trial page because there are a lot of options for memberships. And I'm just going to quickly give you a really quick summary of what they are. So Ancestry.com has their memberships broken up into regions, basically. So you have a US Discovery, which is basically if you want to focus on US records. And then you have a World Explorer, which is if you want to focus on like global or world records. And then you have All Access. Typically, Ancestry offers 14-day free trials. Sometimes they're as low as 7 days, but like 98% of the time, they're 14 days. And that is the same length of time for any membership type. The main difference between the two different types is very straightforward. It's just the area you want to search. For a beginner, I would suggest that you stay with your region. So if you are from the US, probably start with the US Discovery. And as you continue researching, if you need to look at global records, you can always adjust your membership. The prices they have listed here are per month, and they will start being charged after your free trial. You can choose to pay, I believe, 6 months at a time, and I think even up to a year. But right here, they have a 6 month option. And you have a little bit of a savings typically if you prepay for the 6 months, but that's up to you. So choose either build monthly or build 6 months at a time. So that is for beginners. I'm not getting into all the different details of the different type of memberships. You can scroll through and see the different types. But for beginners, I would advise you to start with the region that you're going to spend most of your time researching. And if you're going to research a lot, or you get so far back that you need to expand to explore, or you're finding a lot of records in things like newspapers, Fold 3 is kind of like military records, then expand to All Access. I will say there are some military records that you can access on the US Discovery without paying for All Access. So still, if you are a beginner, don't get All Access just because you want to search newspapers and military records. You will find some of those available to you on US Discovery as well, just not everything. Okay, so once you decide on what type of membership that you're going to sign up for, you can sign up, do the free trial, and then you're able to log in and start searching. So let me go ahead and log in, and we will walk through a couple of search options. All right, so once you have your account and you log in, you will be taken to the Ancestry homepage. And you're still going to get some ads, and just go ahead, even if you have a paid account, they're still going to try to sell you things like their Ancestry DNA if you haven't taken their DNA, or upgrade to Pro. As a beginner, I would not advise you to take advantage of like the Pro tools. If you want to go ahead and get your DNA started, definitely, if they have a great offer, like this is a great offer, Ancestry DNA starting at $39, go ahead possibly and do that if that's something you're interested in. But I will say, if you are going to do your DNA before starting to research, please understand that you still need to do research. DNA is science, right? It's not going to tell you the story of your family history. It's just not. It's going to give you, I won't even get into that too much on the video. I just want to say this: DNA helps you understand your family's genetic background and genetic ancestry, right? That's what DNA does. Research helps you understand your family's journey through time and your family story. Two different things, and they need to work together. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to belabor that point. Okay, on the homepage, you're going to have a top toolbar and you're going to have menus over to the right. The top toolbar is basically about navigation, and the menus to the right are quick links to certain types of databases. We're not going to go through all these databases today. I am going to continue this tutorial service or this tutorial series and go through some of these databases in detail in later videos. But just know that in the beginning, when you first start, you're going to have this navigation bar, and then you're going to have quick links over to the right. You notice that you can start searching over to the right in the quick bar. If you're just now starting, I probably wouldn't suggest starting there, but you can. I'm going to go through the search screens in this video. In the center, like I said, you're going to have some advertisements. Take advantage of what you want, what you don't want. And then they're going to ask you to start building your family tree. You can definitely start here. Ancestry is a great platform where they actually give you suggestions for records that may relate to your family if you start building your family tree. You guys have all seen that leaf, right? Like a few years ago, they talked about the leaf a lot. They don't talk about it as much anymore, but the leaf is just a suggested record for an ancestor. You can't get that unless you start searching. So if you want to start with your family tree, definitely do that. Click Start Tree, enter your information, as much information as you know about your parents and grandparents, and just go from there. Don't feel like you have to enter everything, just enter what you know. And you can start your search that way. We are going to go over each section up here quickly. This is the home page that I'm talking about. The trees link at the top just takes you to your trees. If you have started a family tree, they will be listed here. You can have more than one. You can have a family tree with yourself as a center. You can have a family tree with your mom as a center, with your dad as a center. That's up to you, but I would probably start with yourself as a center and then build the tree backward if you are a beginner. There are some other options here, really for more, I would say, advanced researchers. But basically, a GEDCOM, or GEDCOM, however you want to say that, is a record from an outside site that people used to use a long time ago. And if you have family tree records on that site, which if you're a beginner, you probably don't, you can upload and you don't have to start over. There's some learning tools here and some tools to help you build your story. Be careful on Ancestry because a lot of these tools are paid, additional paid beyond your subscription. So search is where you would click if you want to open up the main search page. You can search all collections, which is where I would start if I was a beginner and what we are going to look at today. Or you can search specific types of records. But these are grouped, right? And they tend to match what you'll see over here on the right-hand side. Memories is where you can upload documents you have and digitize them. Maybe if you want to store photos. I will say I don't use this because I don't like to have all of my documentation online and have Ancestry in control of it, but that's just me. Feel free to use this as much as you want. Again, always be on the lookout for additional charges because if they're going to charge you to store your materials, you might just want to store them yourself for free. You know what I mean? And then DNA is where you go if you have already bought a DNA kit. This is where you'll get your DNA results. And so if you haven't bought a kit, you can come here and buy a kit and they'll send it to you and you complete it, send it back, and eventually you'll get your results and they'll show up here. Over to the right, this is where you're going to have all of your account information for the most part. If you want to check on your subscription and all of that, that's going to be on your right. So this is like your administrative stuff. If somebody is trying to get in touch with you, they are going to message you and you'll have a little button pop up here showing you have a message. If you have questions or you need support from Ancestry, you can click here. Any messages from Ancestry, any leaves, all that stuff is going to be over to the right. Okay, that is the top bar. We are going to click on the search section to pull up the search page. Ancestry is going to have two different types of search pages now. They used to only have one. This is their smart search. So this is fairly new for 2025, where they are giving you basically a simplified search screen so that you can enter limited information for your ancestor and they will really kind of do some of the digging for you. I have not used this a lot. We're going to give it a try today. I am more familiar with the classic search, which is my preference because I like to enter my own information in a certain way. And the classic search does allow you to do that. So you see, it's a lot more information here. I don't get into all of this as a beginner, but you can search and browse from this page. But I would encourage a beginner to search with information that they know. But you can definitely click through all of these databases and start browsing or search specific databases. But if you're a beginner, you're not even going to really know where to start over here. If I'm being honest with you, it's just going to overwhelm you. But keep following this channel for more tutorials because I will go through all of these, or most of them, the more popular ones, and show you how to use them. But if you click into one, I'll just show you now. Like if I clicked into the 1940 census, the search page is going to be similar to the general search page, but you're only searching one database. That's why it's probably not best for beginners because you don't really know where your ancestors are, right? So you'd have to go through all of these to see if your ancestor is there when you could do, a general search and it'll search all of that for you. You can also browse by location. This is definitely not for beginners because if it's difficult to search all records using search, imagine how difficult it would be if you're browsing. You need to know a little bit more information before getting into browsing. But it can be very helpful if you're at that point. Okay, so let's do a sample search. First, we're going to do smart search or classic searching, and we're just going to look for a famous person. We're going to look for Harper Lee. Obviously, Harper Lee was an author. She wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, and she grew up in Monroeville, Alabama. So if you are looking for your ancestor, just put as much information as you know. You don't have to know everything. That is why you are searching. This is not my ancestor. I just know the basics about Harper Lee. I know her name and where she grew up. That is it. I don't even really know her birth year, so I'm not going to put that in there. I know enough to know approximately when she was born. She would have been born around in the 20s, but that's it. I'm also selecting, or it's pre-selected exact on the last name because I want to, search exactly for that last name. I could choose sounds like, similar, or sound X. Sometimes I choose sounds like because some last names people may not know how to spell them, but phonetically, it'll kind of search for names that sound like what you entered. And that's very helpful. All of these fields have an exact option, but you can always select some type of range. So with like names, you're going to have sounds like, things like that. If I was to enter a birth year exact, so let's say 1925, and let's say I'll enter that because I know that she was probably born in the 20s. If I chose exact here, I could set a date range, and that helps restrict my search a little bit. But I will tell you, as a beginner, guys, the two most important pieces of information that you need are name and location. Because you don't want to search for Harper Lee all over the US. You're going to find hundreds of Harper Lees, right? So you want to have some idea of where your ancestor lived. Even if you just have the state, you want those two pieces of information you do need to come and search. You do need when you start searching. So all this other stuff is kind of optional, but you need to know location and name at the minimum. That's what you need. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit search. And you see that we're getting a lot of results. We got over 400 results. And on the classic search, they're broken up into type. So we have ancestry trees. Results in ancestry trees are results that individuals entered. So people like you and me, they built their family tree, and Ancestry is now searching that tree and returning results if it relates to your ancestor. Um, these can be very helpful, but also keep in mind this is information an individual entered. So if they're wrong and you take this as being authority, you're going to be wrong too, right? So I like to use family tree results as basic information, and it gives me more information to continue my research, but I always try to verify what I find in a family tree. The next section is going to include records from the official databases. These records are going to be, in my opinion, a little bit more reliable than family trees. So Harper Lee has a ton of newspaper entries because she was a famous person. But I want to find her on the official census records. So over to the left, I'm going to click census, and it's going to filter my records down to just the census records. And I see that this Harper Lee was born in 1926. She was living in Monroeville, Alabama in the 1930 census. This is the Harper Lee that we're looking for, but I would need to click on that and verify. I also see where she has a record in 1940. And then there's a record in 1930 for Harper Lee, which is in North Carolina. And I know Harper Lee that we're looking for lived in Monroeville, Alabama. So this is probably the one. I did not know that her first name was actually Nell. So that's a good example of, I didn't know that when I started researching. So I just entered what I knew. So take the same approach with your ancestor, guys. You don't have to know everything. Let the records help you. But this record matches what I know about Harper Lee. And so this is the record for the Harper Lee that we're looking for. This page is a transcribed page from the original census record. I like to start here because it's easy to read. You can see the original census record by clicking on the thumbnail to the left, and the census record will open up. And this is the original record, guys. You can zoom in to this record and go to the highlighted area, which is going to highlight the person that you're looking for. And you can see the family unit, and you can read the details on the census. Okay. So that is how you use the classic search. You can save this record to your desktop. You can save this record to your shoebox, which is like a digital storage, like a cloud storage that's in Ancestry. I like to save records to both places, honestly, because I'll come back and continue researching. So it's nice to have it in my Ancestry shoebox. But if I have confirmed that this is my ancestor, I do save it to my computer so that if I choose not to keep paying my Ancestry subscription, I can still access that record. And so that's one thing I just want to pause and say again. You can print these records from Ancestry. You can save these records to your desktop. You don't have to just leave them on Ancestry and feel like you have to pay forever to access them. Once you have confirmed that that's your Ancestry, download it and store it in a place that you can have repeated access to, even if you don't continue paying your Ancestry membership. Okay, the other thing I want to point out about the search results screen, if you are a beginner, is that Ancestry will give you suggested records based on who you're searching for. So Ancestry has given a lot of suggested records for Nell Harper Lee. Everything from newspaper entries to the 1940 census to find a grave so you can see her burial location. She appeared in several yearbooks. So this is just a great way to continue your research for your ancestor, even though you may not have ever thought to look into these databases. And so this is why I was saying, if you start broad, Ancestry is going to help you find additional records. You do have to take time to look and investigate the records, because you will see that sometimes it's not the right person, because it's just like anything else that uses, AI or assisted searching. It's not always correct, right? It's helpful to use as a tool, but you still have to do your own research. Okay, so this is a picture of Harper Lee when she was in college. I know that she did go to the University of Alabama. And if I click on this picture, I know what she looks like. So this is actually Harper Lee. If this was your relative, you would have a nice picture of someone in their teen years, and maybe of your grandmother or great grandmother that you never would have thought. I will point out that there is a newspapers.com entry here, and I can click here and see the summary um, of this person who is Harper Lee. And so if I click on it though and try to see the actual record, it's not going to allow me to access the actual record because I didn't sign up for the newspapers.com subscription. So keep that in mind, right? And that's what we were saying. That's what I was saying before about when you select your trial. You may not be at the point where you really need to go through newspapers right now. You might just be beginning. So don't pay that extra money if you're not there. Wait until you've done a little bit of research and then expand your Ancestry account, and then you can access these additional records. But records that are part of Ancestry, for example, 1940 census. We originally looked in 1930. It gave us a suggestion for 1940. And we can see that in the 1940 census, this is still Harper Lee. And I can look at this record as well. And if I wanted to, I can zoom in and see the family unit here. Okay. So you do have access to these trailing records, is what I like to call them, these suggested records. But anything you don't have a full subscription for, it'll tell you. All right, so that is how you search using the classic search. I'm going to go back to the search page and just quickly take a look at the differences if I was to do this with the smart search. The main thing is, you notice you don't have as many options because, you know, the smart search is basically saying Ancestry is going to do the searching for you. Okay, but your results are going to look similar, if I'm being honest with you. It's just going to be a little bit more refined. You're not going to have as many junk records, supposedly. So you're still pulling up a lot of newspaper.com, a lot of finding your grave. You can still go in here and filter. So notice though that record that was on there in the classic search that ended up not being Harper Lee is not here. That's because on the smart search, Ancestry took that record away because they kind of assessed it and said, hey, this is not the person you're looking for. So you don't see as much. You're relying a little bit more on the computer. The AI assistant, you're relying on them a little bit more in the smart search. So how you search is up to you, right? I'm used to the classic search because I've been searching for Ancestry for a long time, but I'm excited to use the smart search to see if the computer can help me uncover information that maybe I wasn't expecting. So, okay. This is a very, very, very quick tutorial, you guys. It is not intended for someone who already knows how to use Ancestry. This is if you are just now getting started. So I just want to close by saying this was intended for beginners. If you are starting your search, start broad and start with what you know. Don't feel like you have to know everything before searching. That's why you're here searching, okay? Don't get lost in all the databases to the right. Do not get overwhelmed. Go to the search page, enter as much as you know, and then hit search and let Ancestry help you. And then follow the suggested records you get from your search results screen and let that help you build your story. I will also say, as you can tell just by looking at this, it's really important, guys, that you start to document what you find. Take notes about what you find and what you've searched, because there are so many records that you will quickly lose track of what you've already found and where you have searched. And that's where a resource such as our research workbook and genealogy tool, which will be linked down below, is so helpful. You can get it from Amazon, but it just helps guide you through what you're supposed to be doing when you're searching and how to document what you have found. That way, you're not wasting time by duplicating your search. And if you don't use that research workbook, just use a notebook. Regardless of what you use, it's super important that you document what you find. So that's all I'm going to say right now for beginners. Don't be overwhelmed. Do not be overwhelmed. Go to Ancestry.com, start your search journey. Thanks for watching.